Let's say if somebody is habitually having a very passive attitude in their lives, yeah. So if you're very passive, that can be very nice, but it can mean that your life is very boring. Yeah, it can mean that where you just don't manage to get things done, and you may like to get things done, but you just can't quite do it. Now, if you have noticed that you are having a specific issue in your life, I would then recommend you go into the longer term program, because it can well be that you are having this issue because you are running a severe color deficit. Yeah, and there's really in the standard arm of the program, we do not address things individually. This is just a very general kind of tonic. It's like a general tonic. You get just filled up with the whole spectrum of colors, and you're in there for your 3 months period, and you just get kind of filled up, and then you just go. Yeah, but the people in the long term 2 year study part, then we can address, then people can then write, and then they can say, well, I have this thing of some, yeah, I can't seem to get going, or I can't sustain any decent level of energy, or I'm not motivated, or whatever. This can very easily be a color deficit problem, and we can locate that color, and we can supplement it. Yeah, and then see through the feedback, we can then gauge the progress that a person is making. Yeah, and sometimes the progress is very fast. Yeah, if you can really hit the right color, or the right color combination, it can sometimes be color combinations. Yeah, if you can get the right color, then there can be very quick and pronounced progress, and also sustainable progress. Because if you, let's say, for example, you've had a condition all your life, then you've never learned what it feels like for it to be different. Yeah, you don't know how it is. Like, for example, like when we're doing neurofeedback, like somebody who has poor concentration, yeah, and they have always had poor concentration, and somebody tells them, hey, you need to concentrate, then they'll kind of sit there wondering, what does that mean? Because they've never experienced it, they've never learned it, so it's pointless telling them, well, concentrate, yeah, just concentrate. That's not going to work. You have to somehow find a way of showing them what it is. And it's the same with, say, somebody who's had difficulties really getting their feet on the ground in their lives. Yeah, you need to find a way of supplementing that energy that is required, yeah, to be able to do that. Yeah, so we work behind the scenes, and we kind of say, well, on what basis is that happening? Because for some people it's happening, for others it's not. Well, why should that be? Yeah, because we're basically all built the same. Yeah, but we're actually not. Yeah, so we're very, very different. Yeah, and there are reasons for the difference, and we can find out the reasons for that, and then we can supplement what is then needed. Yeah, and for that we use the symptoms, and then we use astrological data from Vedic astrology, because that's a very reliable, and it's a tremendously valuable system with a great historical background for dealing with stuff like that. You know, that they have an understanding of that is greatly lacking in the modern world. So that's a good way of dealing with that kind of thing. And of course, if somebody has been, say, if somebody's 30 years old and they've had a certain tendency for 30 years, chances are it's not going to be leaving too soon. Yeah, it may be just needing a bit more effort, yeah, and a bit more continuous exposure for that to be resolved. And when then somebody has realized, oh, this is what it, and now I know what it feels like to be an energetic person, and to be to be able to get things done and to be able to organize and all. Now I know what everybody else was talking about, and before they didn't even know it. So that's, if we can widen the spectrum of abilities of a person, yeah, then that's a very great thing, because a lot of things are based on learning. Yeah, and if you haven't learned something, then you just basically don't know it. Yeah, although your neighbor was saying, well, I don't get it, why you don't know it. Yeah, because I know it. Yeah, but that just because you know it doesn't mean that they know it. Yeah, so it's like a learning process, and if you can experience what it's like to be in a different way, even if it's just a little bit, but repeatedly a little bit different, yeah, then that's enough to then that to be recognized for what it is, yeah, and then it runs automatically. Yeah, then it's just there. It's just an ability.